From this day forward, any settler, regardless of his country of origin, may claim land in the Western Territories free of charge. In return for a continuing commitment to clear 10 acres of land per year of residency, any immigrant may henceforth proclaim himself a landowner with full rights and privileges in the Dominion of Canada.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Well, we're nearly there.
Oh, how do I look?
You look fantastic.
Tommy!
What?
Look at my hair. I need to make a good first impression.
You always make a good first impression. Well, here we go.
Reverend Douglas.
Deacon Marks. Hello, hello.
Welcome.
Thank you. How are you doing?
Good.
It's great to see you all. Mrs. Lukes.
He's a good man.
Nice to see you. Really nice to see you. And, Charlie Lawson, how are you, Charlie?
Yeah, same as ever.
Oh, it's great to see you,
Good
Charlie.
to see you.
Excuse me. I'm happy to announce that the church has a new pianist. I even coerced her into marrying me. This is my wife, Irma.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Welcome to Weyburn.
Thank you very much.
And Mrs. Lukes. I'm sure you'll both be great friends.
Don't pay any attention to my silly.
Reverend, this way.
Of course. Irma.
Take care.
I was hoping to set up a meeting with the Board of Deacons. I have a number of ideas that I'd like to propose.
What kind of ideas?
Well, my thinking is we've got a large church with a fine basement, and we ought to be able to get some more use out of it than just sermons.
I don't recall anything about that in your budget.
Oh, no. I don't need any extra budget. Nothing to fear there.
you the new Baptist then?
Well, actually, I've been a Baptist all my life. But I'm the new minister, yes.
You're making a joke.
A feeble attempt.
My neighbor said you told jokes in church when you were here last winter.
I'm afraid you have me, Mrs.
Edwina Babbage. And I'm not sure I approve of a Protestant minister telling jokes during services.
Well, I've always felt that when people are laughing, they're listening. Why don't you come see for yourself?
It can't be any worse than the one we've got over at First United. I swear he's been dead for 2 years.
Good morning.
Hello. You must be the minister's wife.
Yes, I'm Irma Douglas. Pleased to meet you.
Lally Lawson.
As in Charlie Lawson?
He's my burden, yes.
He seems like a pleasant enough burden to me.
As far as they go.
It was actually Charlie who mentioned that this piano may have seen better days. He was right. Would you mind helping me take off this front piece?
Oh, certainly.
Thank you. You know, one of the first things I was told when we got here was to keep my drapes closed during daylight. And here we are with the biggest windows in Weyburn and not a drape to be found.
Thank you. Please be seated. Well, hello. You know, I can't begin to tell you how happy I am to be taking up permanent service here as your minister. And on behalf of my wife, Irma, and I'd like to thank you all for having us. Now, as many of you know, I have only just graduated from Brandon College. And although I did give a number of sermons here last year, this is, in fact, my first official service as an ordained minister. Now, many of you have asked whether I took any awards upon graduation, and well, you know, as a matter of fact, I did. Oh, I walked off with quite a few of them. But when they found them missing, they made me give them back.
Across the Dominion, economic collapse brings ruin and despair to the common man and his family. Idleness has become the full-time occupation of almost half the working-age population. And on the prairies, every farmer has only one question on his mind. When is it going to rain?
You take the road to Estevan, and I'll go to Stoughton.
Thought you wanted me to go to Stoughton.
I was hoping you'd get the Kotick family to take something. He won't take it from me.
Finn won't take charity from anybody, Tommy.
Don't call it charity. It's only folks helping each other.
Not the Finn Kotick, it ain't.
Charlie, where's the best place to put these clothes so they don't fly away?
Right up front in the middle would be good. And throw some on top.
Did you get the seat ordered already?
I'll get to that.
Charlie, we're already a week behind getting planting started.
Lolly, don't tell me something I already know. I'm gonna step over to Mark's. See if he'll give me some seed on loan. Can't sell all he's got anyway.
We can lend them the money for seed.
I've already tried, Irma.
Excuse me, guys.
Hey, Charlie. Irma! Irma, put some water in the soup. I've brought guests. Take your hats off, boys.
Oh, well, hello there, boys.
May I help you, ma'am?
What, are we starting a hockey team, Tommy?
No. This is the young men's group. Although a hockey team isn't such a bad idea. Do you boys play hockey?
Oh, yeah.
Sure, we play hockey. I mean, doesn't everybody? No offense to you, Reverend.
And why should I take offense?
Oh, I don't know. You just don't look like the physical type.
Well, I'll have you know, I was the boxing champion of Manitoba.
Sure you were.
Right.
Twice, actually.
Mm-hmm. It was the first time I'd seen Tommy without his shirt on.
Oh, yes, and she thought I'm going to marry that man.
Actually, I thought, so that's what they mean by featherweight.
I was a lightweight.
Well, he looked like a featherweight to me.
There goes my crop! Look at it! Never stops! It's always something.
All right, gentlemen, we're going to start with some skipping. And we're going to start really slow, on 2 feet. When you get comfortable with that, we're going to pick up a little speed. And then we're going to try 1 foot at a time. You can move on that. All right? Now, off you go. Let's try it now. Pick up your feet, Mike. Boxing is all about footwork. And the best thing for footwork is skipping rope. That's good. Take it like as you're going for a run.
Shoot.
Huh. Okay. You're getting it. Let's go. There you go. We're going to do this for some time, and I want you all to stop now. Now, put it here.
How was that?
Ease off the clutch. Much better. You're getting the hang of it.
Oh, look, Maggie 48's pregnant again.
Look at what?
That cow there, that's Mr. Brock's cow. Lends it out whenever someone's expecting.
Well, that's good of him. Let's stop in. We've got some baby clothes.
Oh, Reverend, we better come back later.
Why?
Well, he's getting the means test. If we walk in there with a bunch of presents, he could lose his relief check. Bet he already has enough to explain about with that cow. Plus, he's a progressive, and he's pretty loud about it, too.
Well, maybe we can remind him that a man's politics has nothing to do with his needs. Now, come on, in we go. Hello? Anybody home?
Good afternoon. I'm Reverend Douglas.
No. I'm sorry, you'll have to come back another time. These folks are busy.
I'll drive Danny.
Okay. Hey, Reverend. Have you ever seen the means test before?
No.
Happened in my house last month. Sure glad you didn't barge in on us.
But why'd she have to take off her shirt?
Show her ribs.
Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are they that mourn, for they shall be comforted. Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. Blessed are the merciful. Blessed are they who are persecuted. But you know, that isn't the world that we live in, is it? No. No, in this world, it's blessed are the strong. Blessed are the educated. Blessed are the powerful. The poor and the meek aren't blessed at all. And people who call themselves good Christians stand by and tolerate it. People who are not suffering in any way have the audacity to call the poor lazy and the meek cowardly, as if it weren't their responsibility to help. It is all of our responsibilities to help. Too many of us utter that same prayer each night. Utter that same prayer. God bless me and my wife, my son John and his wife, us four, no more. Amen. We have to start putting into practice the idea that we ought to bear each other's burdens, the idea which St. Paul put forth when he said, ye that are strong ought to help bear the burdens of the weak. We have to do more. Dave, nice to see you. Have a nice day now. Good to see you now. Take care. Bye. Nice to see you. Take care now. Well, thank you so much for coming.
Oh, it's great, sir.
Good to see you. Thanks for coming now. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Take care. Tommy, please go find Mrs. Babbage a decent coat. She's freezing.
Thank you. Take care now. Bye-bye.
Bill, how are you?
Not bad.
Good. And your sister, please tell her congratulations on the baby.
Mrs. Babbage, I was wondering if perhaps I could get your help for a moment.
What's this about, Reverend?
Well, we've just gotten a trainload of clothes from back east, and I need some help sorting it.
I suppose.
Good morning. Good morning. Have a lovely afternoon.
I hope the front row heard that.
Charlie.
Bye, Irma.
Bye, Irma. Bye-bye.
It's just down there.
It's a bit steep.
Watch your step. Now, we've already separated the adults from the children and the men from the women. But now I'm thinking we could have a pile of work clothes and a pile of better things. If there are any better things.
Well, this is quite nice. And this is lovely.
Well, perhaps you might take something for yourself while you're here.
That's not necessary.
No, you must, as a token for helping us out.
It's not necessary.
I insist.
Well,
Tommy! Tommy! Best be on your way if you want to be in South by
I'll be fine.
Temperature's dropping, the roads will be frozen, and you'll be in the ditch before you know it.
She's right, you know. I've been in the ditch twice already this winter.
It's not your fault the roads are so bad. You go ahead. I'll collect some ladies and we'll get this all sorted out.
Did you find anything that you like, Mrs. Bash?
Oh, I did.
Well, then I insist you try it on.
I think I will.
Good. Oh, it's lovely. It's just your color. Suits you.
Yes.
Oh,
Fits like a glove.
I think it was made for you.
It's lovely.
Well, then you must take it.
Thank you.
It's my pleasure.
Jab, jab, keep on moving. Jab, right, keep on the move. Keep on moving. Jab, jab, hands up by the face, protect the face. Jab, jab, elbows in. Jab, jab, hands up by the face. Jab, jab, that's good. Danny.
Yeah, Reverend?
Give me a hand with this and I'll let you drive into Radville.
Okay. Say, Reverend, what would you do if there's this fellow, tough fellow who's bullying people after school?
Why, is this happening to you?
A few times, Reverend.
Well, if you're up against a bully, you need to use your head. Right here, you want to catch him right on the bridge of the nose.
Wait, Reverend, are you telling me to headbutt him?
Oh, yes, hard as you can. Mind you, you can't do that in a boxing ring, but if it comes to street fighting, it is too late for being fair.
Okay.
Tommy? Tommy, we have company.
Hello, Tommy.
Hello, Charlie.
This here's Julian Grishko from Bean Fate. This is Tommy Douglas, the man I was telling you about.
Reverend?
Julian helped set up the union up there in Bean Fate for the miners.
Starting to wish I had.
They've been on strike 3 weeks already.
No progress yet.
Gentlemen, please sit.
No. Mines won't even recognize we got a union. Say it's a communist organization.
Julian's been told that the police are threatened to bust the strike up for good.
So if we don't disband the union, they won't even talk to us.
Well, don't you believe a word of that. This kind of nonsense always happens when a union's being set up.
Tommy comes from a long line of union men.
Anyway, the men have asked Julian to come down and ask you to speak with them.
Oh, well, of course I will. But I am going to need some more details.
Thanks.
Julian, why don't you start by telling them how they underweigh the coal 40 cents on the dollar? Why don't you tell them how they make you shop in the company store and how much you got to pay for a quart of milk?
Charlie, let the man speak.
I work, okay? If the whistle blows, I work every time. But I got a daughter. And I can't. I can't even put meat on the table.
Now, you may recall the time when Moses led the children of Israel out of captivity in Egypt. On either side of them were the forbidding mountain. Behind them came the avenging armies of the Pharaoh. And in front of them, their only way of escape was blocked by the Red Sea. Now, it was at this critical moment that God said to Moses, "Speak unto the children of Israel that they go forward." Now, surely this is sound advice. I think if Jesus were here today, he'd probably say the same thing. When enemies pursue and the right path is difficult, the divine command is always the same. Go forward!
Go forward!
Exactly that. Well, get up here for a second. Now, let's get them all to say that. Go forward! Go forward! Go forward! Go forward! Now, let's all pray that the mine owners come to their senses and let good, honest, working folk go back to work. Good luck. Thank you. Good luck. Good to see you again. Good luck. Thank you. Thanks, everybody. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, at this time of trouble, James G. Gardner, member for Melville, will speak on behalf of a united legislature.
There has been a tragedy in the province of Saskatchewan tonight. As you all know, the miners' strike in Bean Fate has been growing more and more lawless for weeks now. Well, tonight, the strikers crossed the line from lawlessness to barbarity. Under pretense of a protest parade, the strikers planned an all-out, violent assault on the city of Estevan. Fortunately, officers of the law were prepared for just this sort of outrage, and a great disaster was narrowly averted. Now, there's going to be some angry leftist propaganda swirling around, so I want to make sure the people of this province are armed with the truth. First, I ask you, what do we know about these strikers?
We know that almost none of them were born in this country. We know that some of the people associated with this group are secretly affiliated with the Soviet International of Russia.
Tommy!
This is not conjecture, this is a proven fact.
Listen to this.
And now we know these strikers, these miners will bring violence and murder to innocent bystanders.
I shudder to think what might have happened had the authorities not been forewarned of the strikers' deliberate intentions to provoke us into violence. I can only thank the Lord that the riot was disrupted before these lawless anarchists could enter the city. There is no doubt in my mind that innocent lives have been saved.
On behalf of the citizens of this province, I applaud our brave officers and all those citizens who stand on the side of right in the face of communist intimidation.
These foreign elements are attacking our very liberty, our very democracy, our very identity as Canadians and as subjects of the British Empire. We will not give in to insurrection. Not an inch. That is the promise of the united government of Saskatchewan. Thank you.
Mr. Gardner, guys, we got questions here. Just one photo. Mr. Gardner, please. Sir. Mr. Gardner, we got questions here.
Day, boys?
Yes, sir.
Now who's up for a drink?
Yeah.
You folks are not wanted here. Ma'am!
Dear God.
If you're looking for the hospital, it's back in town.
We were just there. You said they're not letting minors in, is that true?
That's none of your business.
Are you hurt? You need to come with me, sweetie. No! Come on. No! Come on, he's gone. You need to come with me. He's gone. You need to come with me.
We have brought help for the wounded. Surely you don't object.
Why are these men lying in the dirt?
These folks need to learn a lesson. My orders are the bodies stay till morning.
That's criminal.
Yeah, I'll be the judge of that.
You need to come with me.
You communists, are you?
No, we're Baptists if you gotta know.
Don't hold with the Baptists.
And what sort of Christian is it that lets the dead rot in plain sight of children? Have you no human decency whatsoever?
Where are the rest of the injured? Lally, we need the bandages and the blankets now! Where is everybody else?
Cover them up, please.
Cover them yourself. Nothing to do with me. Trouble with you Baptists is they don't hold you underwater long enough.
I'm just going to take that out for you a bit. Put a little pressure on it.
La casa, pomocy.
You'll be okay. Feel a little warm? What are you talking about? Put a little bit of water on your head and cool down a bit.
Just call your speaker.
It's gonna be okay.
Oh, yeah. Moja noga. Noga złamana.
Tommy, the bosses are here.
This property belongs to the Northwestern Imperial Mining Company of Canada. You are all ordered to vacate the premises or you will be arrested. You have 5 minutes.
wanted people in this camp.
You've got no right to move them.
They got no right to be here, Reverend. Nor do you.
4 minutes!
If one of these people dies because you have turned them out, I will see you charged with murder.
You'll be charged with something yourself if you're still talking in 4 minutes.
Big man.
Come on! Forget it, Tommy. Forget it.
Government's out of control.
Watch your language, Charlie.
We got in charge of us these days, Tommy.
Charlie.
Well, there's no other word for it, is there? You know I'm working for the new Farmer Labor Party we started up, right?
Yes, Charlie.
What do you say to being our candidate?
I'll have to get the approval from the deacons.
Then talk to the deacons.
Secretary Balsam. Well, I had no idea that you were coming to Weyburn.
Thought I'd drop in for one of your sermons.
Oh.
Sit down. I hear wonderful things about them.
Well, thank you.
Unfortunately, I hear other things that aren't quite so wonderful.
I see. Such as?
Such as, you're involving yourself in politics?
Well, I find it unavoidable, given the circumstances in this district, I'm afraid.
But being fate's not in this district, yet I heard you took a group of folks down after the riot.
There was no riot. There was cold-blooded murder.
Everyone knows there were communists in that union.
Do you have any idea what kind of wage slavery that these miners were living under? I don't know how...
All right, I'm not trying to defend the owners.
Thank you.
Men may differ on matters political, but in front of the Lord, they're all in our charge. Now, I would have thought you knew that the policy of this church was to render unto Caesar that which is Caesar's.
Meaning what in this instance?
Are you not intending to run for a farmer labor candidate in the next federal election?
I have been approached to do so, yes.
You must understand that the Baptist Church cannot have its clergy running for public office and ministering to a congregation at the same time. It's simply not acceptable.
Well, I'm not sure it's up to the Baptist Council what I do outside of my church, with all due respect.
Don't be a fool, man. If you get yourself branded a radical, you'll never get another church in this country. There is no place in this church for godless politics.
I've just quit. Or I've been fired, depends on how you look at it.
I think I'm pregnant.
Thank you. Please be seated. We have a special guest with us this week, Secretary Balsam from the National Council. Now, Secretary Balsam was just reminding me that Jesus said, "Render unto Caesar the things which are Caesar's." And by that, the Secretary meant that it is inappropriate for a minister of the Lord to speak of politics from the pulpit, and for me to involve myself in partisan political affairs while I hold this office. Well, personally, I disagree, but I do respect that that is the policy of my church, and I will act in accordance. Therefore, I regretfully resign as your pastor. I want to thank you all for all of the wonderful things that you have done here. I know that your next minister will continue to keep this church thriving. And I'm still going to talk a bit, if that's all right. You see, what Secretary Balsam would like me to do is talk about sin, and not talk about things going on in the outside world. But I fail to see how that is possible. Innocent men were just gunned down by their own police force. Are we to somehow believe that there is no sin involved? Let me give you another example. I'd like to tell you a story about sin, about the sin of greed and the sin of pride. My wife's cousin was a dirt farmer over on the edge of the Badlands. He'd carved and scraped a life for himself and his family, and he was well known as a proud man. He was respected for it. He never took on an ounce of debt in his life until his crops failed 3 years running. And then, well, he had no choice. But even then, he wouldn't go on relief. No, sir. And this was with 7 young children. Well, you all know what last winter was like. Temperatures 50 below zero for 5 days running, and then 60 below that one night. Well, he pulled his family together in the middle of his shack. They piled all the blankets around him. And when they woke up, the youngest one was deathly ill, coughing up blood. Cold as the dead one minute, then burning like a furnace the next. So they put her in a wagon and they headed for that hospital 40-odd miles away. And on the way there, the farmer decided that all of this was happening because he had been too sinful. He had been too proud to take that coal that the relief men offered him. So he denounced that pride right then and there. But the hospital wouldn't take his girl without a cash payment in advance. So there he was, begging on the street, right in front of that hospital, holding his daughter in his arms when she died. So pride wasn't the problem. There was plenty of time. There was plenty of medicine. There was an opportunity to save her, but medicine was withheld from a dying child because she couldn't pay for it. Now that is unspeakably immoral. I think we can all agree on that. We can all denounce the greed of the pharmacist and proclaim the innocence of the little girl. And that won't solve anything. Because we can also agree that that was perfectly legal. Just like the men shot dead in Beanfate in cold blood, perfectly legal. We can't do anything about the nature of sin, but there are some things that we can change. Jesus said, love thy God and love thy neighbor. On these two commandments hang all of the law. Well, 90% of my congregation is on the relief. And the law doesn't say a thing about it. So I think it's about time we change the laws around here. I have therefore decided to run for political office in the upcoming election. I hope I can earn your vote. Thank you.
Tell me, what would Jesus say if he came here today? What would Jesus do if he walked right up to you? Would he say that you done good and done everything you could? What would Jesus say to you?
That's the one. Best one yet. Looks great. Hello, Mrs. Babbage.
Oh, Mrs. Babbage.
I'll get it.
Thank you. Good afternoon.
I'd like to make a donation to the campaign.
You would? That's wonderful. Hey, we have a new book, you know. Come on over here. You'll be one of the first people in it. Wow. How much would you like to donate?
$3.
$3? No.
I churned 30 pounds of butter this week. Sold them all, 10 cents each. $3.
Mrs. Babbage, that's we can't take that. That's just it's too much money.
Now, you see here, Charlie Lawson, neither you nor the Reverend Douglas here nor anyone else can tell me what I can give to this campaign. Now, take it.
You have our deepest gratitude, Mrs. Babbage.
You're welcome. You keep telling the people what they need to hear. Maybe it'll do them some good someday. Good afternoon.
Good evening. Is your father home?
My father?
The Reverend T.C. Douglas?
Oh, aren't you the sweetest man? He's my husband.
Oh.
I'm Irma Douglas. Do come in.
Thank you.
I must apologize. I'm just in the middle of preparing supper, so please come in and make yourselves comfortable. Please, come on in.
I'm MJ Coldwell. I'm head of the Cooperative Commonwealth Federation in Regina. This is my associate, Clarence Fines. Hello.
Tommy will be home any minute. He's already late for dinner. I hope the two of you will join us.
Certainly, we would be delighted.
Thank you for the offer.
You know, I've gotten a letter from your husband.
Yes, he read it to me.
Here, I'll take that.
I can't tell you how excited I am. We have candidates in 11 ridings now. Thanks.
And how many ridings do you have altogether now?
Well, there's 21 ridings in Saskatchewan.
I'm afraid we're going to have to shrink the portions,
Yes.
Sarah. We brought company.
Of course you have. This is
MJ
Mr. Coldwell and Mr. Fines from the Cooperative Commoners Corporation in Regina.
Commonwealth Federation.
Yes, I know. It's a bit of a mouthful, isn't it?
We just call it the CCF anyway.
Well met. This is Lally and Charlie Lawson.
You know, the sad fact is, we're really not in a position to offer you any resources. Thank you very much. I mean, the party's really not much more than good intentions right now.
And that's not going to get anyone elected. You've got to organize yourselves properly and right away.
And how do we do that?
Divide the riding into zones, no more than 3,000 voters. Now, each zone is going to need a manager, an office, and a team of at least 15 volunteers.
Well, hold on. 3,000 voters to a zone, a manager, office.
15 volunteers.
That's right. And you're going to need an office for yourself, a central office right here in Weyburn. Manager, transportation, advanced teams, some sort of entertainment, and plenty of security.
And why should I need security?
Because you're a socialist now, Reverend.
Now, I hear you're quite an accomplished public speaker, Reverend Douglas.
Yeah.
Oh, Tommy's quite the talker. Don't you worry about a thing, Mr. Coldwell.
So we've heard. So we've heard.
Move on.
I would like to tell you a story. It's the story of a place called Mouseland. And this is where all the little mice lived and played, were born and died, and where they lived much the same as you and I do. They even had a parliament. And every 4 years they held an election, used to walk down to the polls and cast their ballots. Some of them even got a ride to the polls. And they got a ride for the next 4 years afterwards, too. Just like you and me. And every time on election day, all the little mice used to go to the ballot box and they used to elect a government. A government made up of big, fat, black cats. Now, if you think it's strange that mice should elect a government made up of cats, you just look at the history of Canada. And maybe you'll see they weren't any stupider than we are. Now, I'm not saying anything against the cats. They were nice fellows. They conducted their government with dignity. They passed good laws. That is, laws that were good for cats. But the laws that are good for cats aren't very good for mice. One of the laws said that mouse holes had to be big enough so that a cat could get his paw in. Another law said that mice could only travel at certain speeds so that a cat could get his breakfast without too much effort. All of the laws were good laws for cats. But oh, they were hard on the mice. And life was getting harder and harder. And when the mice couldn't take it anymore, they decided something had to be done about it. So they went en masse to the polls and they voted the black cats out. They put in the white cats. And still, nothing changed.
This is an illegal gathering, and we're shutting it down now. Everybody out.
We have a right to a meeting.
Not without a permit. Bylaw was passed just this morning. Let's go, folks. We don't want to make any arrests, but we will if we have to. Come on. You too, Reverend.
Charlie, you come along with us.
Ah, Ferg. Look at the tire.
Not again. That's the fourth time this week.
This is just a tire. They burnt Frank's truck in Estevan.
The police really ought to do something.
these godless communists. They want you to believe that night is day, that slavery is freedom. You cannot believe their lies.
And what lies am I telling exactly? Because you're lying when you call me a godless communist, and anyone who's seen me deliver a sermon will tell you so.
Why don't you just sit yourself down, Mr. Douglas? You have your own little meetings that you can attend and you can speak at.
And I'm getting tired of your friends shutting them down.
My friend, I know nothing about that, sir.
Ah, you don't know anything about anything, Mr. Young, and I think the voters deserve a chance to find that out. I challenge you to a debate at the place and the time of your convenience.
Now, why would I dignify you and your little CCF rabble with a debate? You're not even a real party.
Huh? Because the fact that you have proven yourself dishonest does not mean that you have proven yourself a coward.
Now, you hold on there, sir.
Of course, if you lack the nerve to say to my face the things you spout behind my back, you go ahead and refuse to debate me right now.
You're becoming tiresome, Mr. Douglas.
It's very simple, Mr. Young. Are you afraid to debate me or not?
Of course I'm not afraid to debate you. Why would I be afraid?
Excellent. My agent will contact your office tomorrow. I'll let you get back to calling me names now.
Goodbye, Mr. Douglas. Have the man seen him. People don't want to hear your lies, sir. They want to hear about prosperity. They want to hear about progress. They want to hear about liberals. That's right.
So they voted the white cats out and they put the black ones in again, and you can imagine what happened then. And they even tried half black cats and half white cats, and they called it a coalition. But that didn't change anything. I'm sorry, Irma. I got stuck on that Stelton Road again. Anyway, the good news is that,
What if you got there? Are you all right? Is it a he or she?
It's a she.
So we'll stick to Shirley then?
Mm-hmm.
Can I hold her?
Yes.
Hello, Shirley.
You see, my friends, the trouble was not the color of the cats. The trouble was that they were cats. So naturally, they looked after cats instead of mice. And then one day, there came along one little mouse who had an idea. My friends, watch out for that little fellow with an idea. And he said to all the little mice, he said, listen, fellas, why do we keep on electing a government made up of cats? Why don't we elect a government made up of mice? Oh, they said, he's a Bolshevik, lock him up. And so they threw him in jail. But I want to remind you, you can lock up a mouse and you can lock up a man, but you can't lock up an idea. And one of these days, that little mouse is going to get himself elected. Myself, I say it's high time.
Yes, tell him, Tommy. Yes, sir. Yeah, Tommy's got it figured.
Rebuttal! Rebuttal, Mr. Young.
Thank you. So I was just thinking Mr. Douglas's little mouse story now. Perhaps it's a case of, I would suggest, a wolf in mouse's clothing. A disguise that's manufactured and designed in Moscow, I shouldn't wonder. But I do not wish to just talk about the ridiculous promises of the CCF today. The CCF, by the way, communized Canada through fear, party. No. I really wish just to talk to you today very simply about my record, how I have voted. How I have voted continually to protect the farms. The farms, so burdened with debt. And I would like to talk to you about how I have fought ceaselessly to try and build a better life here for the farmers. Oh, yes.
What a joke. You're so full of it.
For the farmers that deserve the higher standard of living. And I think that we have delivered. Have I delivered? Yes, I have. Things are getting better.
Excuse me, Mr. Moderator. I think I should warn Mr. Young of something before he goes.
What?
There, Douglas. Mr.
Yes.
Mr. Douglas.
Oh, that's all right.
I should warn Mr. Young of something before he goes on a little further.
I would love to know what Mr. Douglas here would like to warn me about.
You do know they keep a record of what you say in Parliament. It's called Hansard.
I'm aware of what Hansard is, Mr. Douglas.
Then it ought to occur to you that anyone who reads it is going to know you're lying through your teeth.
Oh, this is outrageous. How dare you impugn me like this? We have rules of debate here,
On the floor of Parliament, Mr. Young said, and I quote, "The present standard of living is higher than we are going to be able to maintain. We will have to settle down to a lower standard." Now, that is exactly the opposite of what he just said to us right now.
That's outrageous. I have never said such things.
Oh, you're going to have to be careful about these lies, Mr. Young.
It's right here, right in black and white, right here. Have a look for yourselves, people. Hand them out, fellas. Hand out the books. Right there, page 25.
February 9th, 1933.
Oh, no, here now.
We will have to settle down to a lower standard of living. Now, I'd like to know how the farmers are supposed to do that, Mr. Young.
You don't out of context. Any fool can pull
What is
something out of
lower
a
than
page.
having no income at all?
No, you don't possibly understand
We
the
spent all our
complexity
budget buying
of
these
farming.
things so you can look at them
You
now.
can't hold a politician responsible for every word that he might say.
After 5 years of steady recession, Canadians finally have something to be optimistic about. In Ottawa, there's a new government promising better times ahead. Mackenzie King's Liberal Party has returned to power with a majority government.
Tickets, please.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Your dad is going to be very proud.
Well, just don't expect him to say it.
Finally got her to go to sleep.
We're here! Hello?
Oh, Tommy.
Your dad's sick.
There's Shirley.
So sweetheart. Come in. Yeah.
Come.
Hello, Doc. Mother wanted me to bring in your shoes. I'll get that done.
There's cufflinks.
Why isn't he in the hospital?
He won't accept charity, Tommy. You know that.
Well, then make him take it.
I've tried, Tommy.
He needs to be in the hospital, Mother. That is that.
It's too late, Tommy. Leave the man his pride.
Dear God, we thank Thee for Thy provisions, for all of our needs. We thank Thee for this food. And we pray Thy blessing upon it and upon every one of us. We pray this in Jesus' name. Amen.
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 Everything looks delicious.
Thank you, dear. Don't you think it's wonderful about Tommy going to Ottawa?
Aye, it does.
Come down. We'll take you up to bed. Come down.
I'm fine where I am. Thank you very much, Tommy.
I'm so sorry, Tommy. Oh, Shirley. Shh. There. Hush.
Oh, goodness. You're gonna wake everyone on the train.
It's okay. Hey. It's okay. Oh, shh. Hush.
Mr. Speaker, I would like to speak about one of the worst situations. Mr. Speaker, I would like to address one of the most crying problems facing the people, facing our people, facing the Canadian people.
Chair acknowledges the maiden speech of Reverend T.C. Douglas, member for Weyburn.
Mr. Speaker, please forgive me if I stumble slightly today, for I must admit to feeling quite overwhelmed to be here. In fact, I was telling my wife, Irma, this morning that I was afraid members like the gifted Mr. Gardner of Melville were likely to eat me alive.
And so I might.
But she assured me that if such a thing were to happen, he'd be the only man in Parliament with more brains in his stomach than in his head. Well, I better get to the point. Mr. Speaker, I'd like to address one of the most crying problems facing the Canadian people in all parts of the Dominion. And that is the tremendous problem of public health. We need medical and hospital care because people are going untreated when they could be treated easily. And they're dying
when there is no need whatsoever that they should die. Now, we have all the facilities for rendering those services, and yet there's not an honorable member who does not know that people who have money can get those services, and people who do not have money cannot get them and are not getting them in every constituency in this country.
That is not so, and I suspect the honorable member knows it is not so.
Well, that is not so, says my honorable friend. But I should like to see him try that line in his home constituency.
And I should like to see Mr. Douglas try this clown act on a vaudeville stage.
So, Douglas, you're foreign affairs and you'll split agriculture with MJ.
Yeah, you take as much as you like, eh, Tommy?
Who takes public health?
That's pretty much catch as catch can. There's only 5 of us for 17 portfolios.
Well, I'd be very interested in taking that particular one, Mr. Woodsmith.
Good for you, son. But I want you talking, first and foremost, foreign affairs.
Of course, sir, I will.
I suggest the honorable member stick to things he understands, like ministering to farmers, and leave the issues of war and peace to men with some understanding of foreign affairs.
Well, I would have thought the man who should consider himself with ministering to farmers would be the Minister of Agriculture, but apparently I was mistaken.
Don't you tell me how to look after my own farmers, boy. I was the Premier of Saskatchewan when you were in short pants.
Oh, yeah. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Oh, wait, I forgot. You still are in short pants.
Order in the House. Continue, Mr. Douglas.
I believe it is customary to stand when addressing this House, Mr. Speaker.
I will have order in this House. Apologize. Both of you.
Withdrawn without objection.
Of course. I'm sure the honorable member was only trying to aid me in my speech. A common courtesy, and I apologize for drawing attention to his shortfalls. Now, if my honorable friend would just sit down and dangle his legs, I should be able to wrap up shortly.
Yes, there he is now.
Reverend Douglas, I must compliment you on the way you managed to keep my Minister of Agriculture in a permanent state of agitation. I dare say you have a bright future in politics.
Oh, thank you very much, Prime Minister.
Walk with me.
Well, since I have your ear, I must protest about this debt that Mr. Gardner is forcing on the Western farmer with his storage policy.
You're doing just fine attacking Jimmy to his face, Mr. Douglas. You don't need any help from me.
Oh, the farmers do need your help, sir.
First rule of politics. There's a time and a place for small talk. And this is it. You married?
Yes, sir.
Good. And tell me about your wife.
Well, she plays fine piano.
And so, how is she enjoying Ottawa?
Oh, she loves it.
Oh, good.
The Dominion is at war. From coast to coast, the cream of Canada's manhood are lining up to volunteer. Side by side with other nations in the British Commonwealth, our lads are ready and willing to take the fight to the Hun. Watch out, Adolf. You've got Johnny Canuck to deal with now.
Next, please. Hi. Here you go, Doctor. We'll have someone come and see you.
Mr. Douglas? Pants and shirt off, please. Step on the table. How feeling today, sir?
Oh, I'm fine, thank you.
Good. Having been sick lately?
No.
Take a look. No swollen glands or anything?
No.
All right, let's have a listen. Breathe. Once more. All right. Once more. What's this?
Oh, I lost myelitis as a child. But it's fine now. That's an old scar.
That's more than one scar. How many operations did you have?
3.
3? Put your clothes on and tell me about it.
Well, the first operation was on my kitchen table when I was 8. It didn't take. The fact is, I couldn't walk for a couple of years, but it's fine now, I assure you.
So the first operation didn't take?
Nor the second. And then when I was 11, the leg got very bad indeed. We couldn't afford another operation, so I was scheduled to have an amputation. Don't mind telling you, I was quite terrified.
But you raised the money?
No, no, I didn't. The doctor in Winnipeg took me on as a charity case. Did the operation in front of his students. It's sheer luck that I'm not a cripple.
Yes, it is.
That's not a problem, is it? It's been sound for 20 years.
You're not fit for His Majesty's service. I'm sorry. You can join the reserves.
I'm already in the reserves. I want to fight.
There is no shortage of volunteers, Mr. Douglas. If that gets infected and you become a burden, nobody's going to be thanking you for your patriotism. Go back to the reserves. Next.
George Williams is shipping out. George can't be leader of a party in Saskatchewan if he's overseas.
Go on.
And I think Jimmy Gardner has made a terrible mistake putting in a puppet premier so he can run things from Ottawa. And I think he can be beaten in the next election.
By you.
That's the plan. Yes?
Browses and swishes from over its shadow. A shepherd and sheepdog was a sheepdog. Bow wow. Bow wow, that's right. Swatching their sheep. Ma. Ba. Ba. Very good. It is cool in the hedgerow, a thorn for a tent.
Mr. Fines.
Reverend Douglas, what brings you to Regina?
I'm going to take over the party here in Saskatchewan.
I see. And what does our current leader, Mr. Williams, think about that?
Well, he can think what he likes. He's in the Army. We need a leader who can win the next election, and that means he needs to be here in Saskatchewan.
And that's you.
If I have you organizing for me.
Oh, no. Nope. I'm secretary of the National Party. I've been with MJ for a long time.
Well, I need you to leave MJ and come and work with me. Now, look, the federal party isn't going to form a government in the next decade.
In the next century, if you want to know the truth.
Exactly. But the Liberals have nothing to run on here.
They'll run on the fear of the Red Menace, meaning us. Usually works.
They can be beaten. Now, all it takes is a little money and a lot of organization, and you're the only CCFer I've met who's any good at either.
Please, there are a lot of people in the party.
Who try very hard, of course. I didn't mean to insult anyone, Clarence. But the fact is, you're a genius at putting these things together, and I'm the man to overcome this Red Menace nonsense, and you know it. Now, I want you to be Minister of Finance, and I'm going to be Minister of Health.
I thought you were going to be Premier.
That too. What do you say?
I'll have to talk to MJ.
Good. You do that. Jimmy Gardner's going to have fits.
That he will.
This province has been under Liberal rule for 36 of the last 40 years. And we just keep getting farther and farther behind. It's enough. It's time for a change. It's time to elect the CCF.
A call goes out to Canada. It comes from out the soil. Come join the ranks through all the land to fight for those who toil. From a farmer, soldier, laborer, from a mine and factory, and side by side we'll smell the tide. CCF to victory.
Well, hello. Nice to see you. Nice to meet you. Hello. Good to see you. How are you? Hello. Yeah. All right. Hello. How are you? It's good to see you. Hi. Hello there. Oh! Well, I've just been told I'm standing on a manure spreader right now. Well, I must say, this is the first time I've ever given a speech from atop the Liberal platform.
These people are communists. And when they tell you they're not, they're lying. This is a proven fact, and anyone with a brain knows it.
We will make sure that the wealth of this province is shared by everyone. We are going to provide every citizen with a decent education, with proper medical care, with security from hunger and from the loss of their home.
The question to be decided in this election is whether or not Saskatchewan is to become a socialist state.
And before you start talking about soaking the rich, I'd like to ask you a question. Now, why shouldn't someone who's done extremely well for themselves in this country be expected to give something back? We believe every person deserves the right to earn a fair living for an honest day's work. We are going to raise the salaries of our teachers and of our nurses. We are going to make sure that those who have worked their whole lives can spend their final years with dignity.
It is just plain stupid to say it does not matter if the CCF wins, when that will mean the end of ownership of property. Will enthrone a stultifying, dictatorial system.
It's time for a change. It's time for the CCF. Thank you.
My friends, we've got to get out the vote.
In the Saskatchewan provincial election, the CCF has won all but 5 seats in the new legislature, handing the Liberal Party the worst defeat in their history. Young Reverend Tommy Douglas from Weyburn is now the Premier-elect of Saskatchewan.
Just look at that great beast of a building. Hard to believe we're taking over, isn't it?
But it's true.
Good morning. Morning.
Morning.
Nice day out, isn't it?
Oh, yes, it is. Well, Clarence, here we go. Where's the transition team?
I don't think there is one. They cleaned out the whole building yesterday, and I don't think they're coming back.
What do you mean the whole building?
Cleaned it right out. They took everything but the furniture.
What about the records, the files?
I don't think I'm allowed to stop the government from doing anything they want to do, sir.
Never mind about that. We'll create our own files. Now, come on. We've work to do. Is it this way?
Down at the end.
All right, thank you.
No files. Some files. Well, that's just wonderful.
Order, order.
Of all the earths the winds can blow, I dearly love the West. For there the bonny lassie lives, the lassie I love best. There wildwoods grow, and rivers flow, and many a hill between. But day and night, my fancy's flight is ever with my Jean. What? Do you think I look silly in a bow tie?
Yes.
I was hoping you'd say that.
Oh, there's Clarence. It broke into many pieces.
Well, now you shouldn't be criticizing our decor.
I know.
Sheets too.
Mrs. Douglas,
Mr. Gardner.
you are looking lovely this evening.
Thank you.
I'll just be a minute.
Mrs. Fines, good to see you again. Mrs. Lloyd. Give us a sec, would you, Willie?
Congratulations, Mr. Premier. Thank you. What's this nonsense of cleaning out the paper in the legislature?
Well, I'm sure most of it's in storage somewhere. We never wrote much of anything down anyway, if you want to know. Why don't you join me?
No, I have my own table, thank you very much.
Yeah. Bit of a difference between your table and mine, isn't there? People notice these things, you know?
Yeah, if people notice I don't need a private room to eat my supper, that's fine by me.
It's not what they noticed. They notice that you may be premier, but this is still my table, in my restaurant, in my town, in my province. You've only got it on loan.
We all get it on loan, Jimmy. That is the concept of democracy.
No, sir. The concept of democracy is that business goes on as usual, regardless of who gets elected. You can call yourself a socialist, Reverend, but this is a capitalist country, and the capitalists aren't going to stand for it.
Well, the capitalists lost this time. Enjoy your table.
Your mother would like to arrange an appointment with you. This afternoon, if possible.
And why should my mother need an appointment?
She says she wishes to negotiate with you on behalf of the organized pensioners of Saskatoon.
And who organized the pensioners of Saskatoon?
Your mother did.
Is she in the building?
She's in the library.
That we are committed to ensuring that every child in this province...
Woodrow? Woodrow, you know my mother, Anne.
Of course. Nice to see you again, Mrs. Douglas.
I'm not here in a family capacity, Mr. Lloyd.
No, Mother is here to negotiate better benefits for pensioners.
Oh.
So you two go ahead and get down to it. Oh, and if I find that someone is being given preferential treatment because they happen to be related to the Premier, I will make my displeasure most obvious. Is that clear?
I think it is.
You heard me, Mother.
Please sit down, Mr. Lloyd. We have a great deal to discuss.
Now, our first priority, and the reason I have taken on the portfolio of Minister of Health for myself, is to work towards the day when no person shall be denied medical care regardless of their ability to pay.
You have enough money for the building.
The point of the larger school units is so that we can provide proper education and science.
And we're building them.
Yeah, and for municipalities to equip them. If you want a proper gymnasium...
Clarence, what on earth is this?
If you give me a second, I can
I'll
read
tell
it.
you what it is. It's a bill from Jimmy Gardner for $16 million.
That's ridiculous. That's half my budget.
Eleanor, I'll see the Prime Minister tomorrow.
You can't be in Ottawa tomorrow.
Well, then I'll see him when I get there. You're the Minister of Finance. You didn't know anything about this?
I know nothing about this. I found it. Premier Gardner reported that he had asked the federal government to guarantee the $16 million loan, and the federal government had complied.
Well, how come he didn't have to pay any of it back?
And here's your answer. It is fully expected the federal government will forgive the debt over the course of time.
This is ridiculous. I mean, it says right here that Ottawa was supposed to forgive the debt. I mean, these are Jimmy's own words.
Well, that's not how he sees it now.
Well, of course, that's not how he sees it now. This is a blatant political attack on the finances of my province.
No, Tommy. It's a personal attack on you and your little bunch of communists. Now stop being outraged and defend yourself. You're the Premier of Saskatchewan, man. You can't come crying to me like some freshman backbencher. Now you go to the Minister of Agriculture and you make a deal, just like every other Premier does. Now that's all I want to hear about it. I'll see you tomorrow for dinner.
So, make me an offer.
We can pay you $400,000 a year for 20 years.
That's not even half.
It's all we can pay without going under, and you know it.
It is not my concern whether you go under, Mr. Premier.
You bankrupt your own province, and I'll see to it you never get elected there again.
Well, you can try. However, I'm not interested in seeing my home province completely destitute. Therefore, and this will be my only offer, we will accept $1.7 million annually for 10 years.
We can't afford it.
Yes, you can. You won't be able to afford anything else, but you can just barely afford this. Isn't that right, Mr. Fines? Just sign each page at the bottom.
How was Ottawa?
Just bloody wonderful.
My week was just lovely too, thank you.
I'm sorry, Woodrow. We've got to slash every department.
We promised 10 new schools this year.
Yes, and we're not going to make it. We're broke.
If you want a bill to pass, it has to be free or pay for itself. That goes for everyone, including you and your health programs.
All right.
Now, who's got any ideas how to raise some money?
You know, I've always thought the railroads got given far too much public lands. Don't you think so?
Now, as you are no doubt aware, Mr. Speaker, huge amounts of the land in this province was given away, free of charge, to the great railroad companies, including the rights to vast deposits of minerals that are the natural wealth of the people of this province. And now that we are attempting to develop this wealth, the railroads are refusing to allow even the most basic exploration. No, they would rather sit on the land in hopes of a greater return in the future. Well, that is not acceptable, Mr. Speaker. The people of Saskatchewan would like to start improving their lives right now. Thank you very much. And so from now on, if those railroads won't allow development, then they can pay a sizable tax until they come to their senses.
Hear, hear. Good job, Tommy. Now, thank you.
We need to wipe these commies out completely. We can't let them establish an ounce of legitimacy.
You don't have to tell us. We're pulling our capital out right away.
All right, good. With any luck, you'll bankrupt them. But it's not enough to have the Liberal Party attacking the CCF. I need it to be the whole country. Gentlemen, it is our patriotic duty to drive these people out of office.
We'll do our part.
Chamber of Commerce announced it will be devoting 1/2 of its annual budget to educate the public about the dangers of socialism in Saskatchewan. And in other...
Does that have anything to do with Daddy?
Yes, dear. It shows what a good job he's doing.
Charles Lawson?
Charlie? Someone here to see you.
Charles Lawson?
Who's asking?
Notice of foreclosure and eviction. Duly issued and fully binding. There is no appeal. You have 5 days to vacate the property. We will arrest you if we found you trespassing, Mr. Lawson.
I don't want to see you again. Don't come back here.
Yes, this is Premier Douglas.
Tommy.
Yes, I'm still waiting.
I just got off the phone with the Leader Post saying there have been over 100 farm foreclosures this morning.
I'm just trying to get one of the mortgage company people on the line now.
It must be an exaggeration.
I'm afraid not, Woodrow. Yes. I see. Well, that is most unfortunate.
What's this about farm foreclosures? My phone's ringing off the hook.
Yes, I would like to leave him a message. Tell him to get himself a good lawyer. He'll be hearing from quite a few of mine.
Mr. Speaker, today over 100 farms have been seized by the banks, most on the flimsiest grounds imaginable. Now, I personally know of farms that have been seized even though they have paid off 95% of their mortgage. Farms that have never missed a payment in 10 years or more. Now, I call that theft. And tonight, we are going to make that illegal. Mr. Speaker, I would like to begin the first reading of the Farm Security Act immediately.
You just look at what that pack of Reds has done now.
Clarence. Jack, come in.
Tommy?
What's wrong now?
Ottawa has disallowed our farm legislation. We expect 1,000 more foreclosures tomorrow.
They can't do that.
Yes, they can. Banking is a federal responsibility, and they can overrule us if they want to.
Call the cabinet.
And I want an hour on the CBC tomorrow.
There's no point in calling the newspapers. You know they're going to side with the Liberals, but if you made a call yourself...
Of course we'll appeal to the Privy Council, but we'll never win. The King of England is not going to side with us against Ottawa.
The CBC has refused to give you any airtime. They won't allow you to criticize the federal government under any circumstances. They say it's too political.
Too political.
He's the Premier. Of course he's going to be political.
All right. Buy me an hour of time on every independent station out there.
Last night, the federal government disallowed the Farm Security Act. And right now, this province is experiencing a rash of foreclosures unparalleled in our history. The federal government has decreed that we have no say over banking or debt. Thousands of people are losing their homes. And my Attorney General tells me there's nothing I can do about it.
Well, don't you believe it. The banks may hold the debt, but the land belongs to the people of Saskatchewan. And I swear to you right now that this government will not allow a single one of these foreclosures to stand. We made a promise to protect people in their homes, and we will keep it. I will fight the financial interests tooth and nail on this. And I know I won't be doing it alone. For instance, our esteemed Federal Minister of Agriculture, the Honorable Jimmy Gardner, will be in his home riding tomorrow. I think he needs to hear how the average person feels about our land being stolen from under us.
All right, you've had your fun. Now get off my property or I'm calling the police.
These men here, they got a lot of things to tell you. You're gonna stand still and listen, or you're gonna end up with a lot worse than 10 tons of cow on your lawn. Now, boys, there's no call for violence. I'm about to lose my house because of you, Mr. Gardner. You don't tell me what to stand here and listen to or not.
All right, fellas, here's your man. Let's hear it.
They can't do anything but rant on the radio. They certainly don't have any power over us.
Well, they're already passing another bill.
And we'll disallow it just like the last one. We'll expose them as completely impotent and then blame them for breaking their promises.
No, Jimmy. We'll graciously keep our mouths shut and then let the will of the people be done.
You're not serious. Just because some bunch of farmers dumped some manure on my porch, you're going to cave into them?
Immediately, yes. That's how I keep getting elected. He's got something special, this Tommy Douglas, hasn't he?
Can't we get him to say something other than manure? And she says, honey, I've been trying to get him to say manure for 25 years.
Bravo!
Stop it now. Stop it, all of you.
That's our boy. Come on, Tommy, we beat Jimmy Garner. Yeah.
Yes, but in the meantime, we have got nothing else done.
Now, I'm afraid we're in for a long night. So if any of you need to call home, you best do it now.
Well, boys, that's how we celebrate a victory with this government. We work all night.
Irma, he's driving us into the ground. We just had a real victory on the farm foreclosures, and he won't even take a day off. Nor will he give anyone else one.
If he doesn't let the staff take a rest, they're gonna start quitting on us.
Well, we'll buy him a ticket on a cruise or something.
Yes, but you've got to make him take it.
And what makes you think that I can make him do anything? Can any of you?
Please, Irma. He's driving himself into the ground as much as any one of us.
I know he is. I'll take him to the cottage, stick him in the rocker, and won't let him move for a week.
Thank you. Thank you.
Back to the treadmill. Thank you.
Thank you, Herman. Nice to see you again.
You too.
Daddy, why is Mommy mad?
I'm sorry, Irma. Really, I am. It's just, I get so little holiday, and I never see Mother at all, and you know how she can be. And I thought,
Yes, you thought? I don't think you thought at all.
Irma.
Hi, Grandma.
Irma.
Hello, Shirley.
She's early.
Oh, she's early. Wonderful.
Mother! Hello, hello.
Hello, Mother. Shirley, come inside.
Hello yourself.
Dearest Mildred, I honestly worry for his health if he doesn't get a good rest up here. Now his mother's here, so there's no hope of that. I can't say anything to Tommy, of course, but the idea that the woman would invade for the only 2 weeks holiday we get is something of an irritant to me. After all, it's not as if we haven't invited her dozens of more appropriate times. I'm so sorry to complain. Anyway, I'll write you at greater length next week. All my love, Irma.
Looks like it's getting windy out there. You two want to help me tie down the boat?
Oh, yes.
Come on, Shirley. Come on, come on.
Watch your step.
I'm okay, Dad.
Want to stand behind me?
Let's move it in closer to the shore.
All right. She won't let me drive her to the station. She went down to the marina and ordered a taxi cab. She didn't say anything to you, did she?
No, not a thing.
Well, that is simply unheard of when it comes to my mother.
Well, she can be a mystery at times, right?
George, how was your holiday?
Went north. Gorgeous. Yourself?
Oh, Carlisle Lake. Splendid.
Tommy.
Clarence? Well, spit it out, Clarence.
I need you to come with me to Boston. There's a bank holding $30 million in Saskatchewan bonds and they're threatening to dump them.
Why? Those are perfectly sound bonds.
Of course they are.
Well, let them dump them. Maybe we can snap them up at a discount.
Tommy, if one bank says that a paper's worthless, then the rest will follow. That's tantamount to saying that the word of the government of Saskatchewan's worthless.
No. No, we can't have that.
No.
Tommy, these are bankers. You don't need to lecture them about politics.
You'll be charming and I'll behave like a minister.
Yeah, and don't try to be funny. This is about money.
I'm afraid we're not open to holding onto your bonds any longer. Unless you're prepared to redeem them, we have no choice but to put them on the market at a discount.
We agree. We'd like to start buying them back immediately.
We understood you had cash flow problems.
A government always has cash flowing in, Mr. McCarthy, much like the telephone company.
Which we own, by the way.
The problem with the government isn't finding money, it's the temptation to borrow more than your means, as our predecessors have done in abundance.
So we have decided to eliminate our debt as quickly as possible.
You mean eliminate your deficits?
No, sir. We mean we're going to eliminate our debt. All of it.
10% of our gross budget this year will be devoted to debt reduction. This will remain true for as long as I am treasurer or until the debt is eliminated. You have my word on it.
And mine.
I thought you were supposed to be socialists. You come in here and you talk like businessmen.
Well, I don't consider spending more than you've got to be a socialist trait, Mr. McCarthy. I consider it to be an irresponsible one.
Now, we hope this will stop all this talk about dumping perfectly sound bonds at less than their value.
All right. We'll hold the rest for a year. See how you do. Thank you, gentlemen.
Well, we've got a year now. Do you know how much money I can make us in a year? Tommy, I want to talk to you about this car insurance scheme we have on the platform.
We passed that legislation, Clarence. Car insurance is mandatory as of January 1st.
Yeah, I know we passed the bill, but we always said we wanted to sell it ourselves, and I think it's about time we got that going.
We don't have any money for startup costs, Clarence. We don't have any money for anything.
Think about it, Tommy. What startup costs are there really? I mean, selling insurance is like running a bank. All you really need is a desk and a vault, and you tell people, here, give me your money, and I'll keep it for you. And if something goes wrong, I'll see that you get it back. I mean, how can you really lose with a business like that?
What about the private companies? You want me to legislate them out of business?
Private companies can compete by all means. Their profit margins are too high. We can sell the same insurance at a lower cost. I guarantee it.
I don't think you can guarantee something like that.
Tommy, when have you ever known me to be wrong about money?
How much would you need to set it up? Tell me honestly.
Nothing. 15,000 to outfit an office, hire a couple of staff. We'd make that back in the first week. And there'd be profits, Tommy, and we could dedicate those to improving the roads. You have to admit, it'd be nice to have some decent roads in this province.
This is the kind of thinking we need.
Excellent, Clarence. Excellent.
Yeah.
Good day, sir. Thank you very much. One moment, sir. Just a few more things. If you could sign there, and there, and there, and I think we're done. Thank you very much, Mr. Payne. Next, you can take that with you. Look over. Have a pleasant day, sir. Aye.
Next. Mr. Speaker, it is now my pleasure to present to this chamber clauses 2 and 3 of the Saskatchewan Bill of Rights. Every person and every class of persons shall enjoy the right to freedom of conscience, opinion and belief, and freedom of religious association, teaching, practice, and worship. Every person and every class of persons shall, under the law, enjoy the right to freedom of expression.
Saskatchewan marches forward. A new decade of prosperity dawns on the prairies. In every corner of the province, the economy is booming. Oil and gas production is on the rise across the south. On the farms, always the bedrock of Saskatchewan's wealth, the wheat is high and the farmers are prospering. Industry is spreading even to the far north, where lumber production and mining have created new opportunities for all. Enormous potash reserves are creating the fertilizer of the future.
You know, I was talking to a farmer the other day, and this man said to me, you know, Tommy, there's been a lot of changes since I moved out here in 1905, and I've been against every one of them. Well, I don't think anyone's against the change to indoor plumbing. Now let's burn some outhouses.
The dirt road that once was the enemy of the weary traveler is being replaced with silky smooth blacktop highways. And beside those highways run the new power lines that are finally bringing the miracle of electricity to each and every farmhouse.
Tommy, look at the houses, like stars on the earth. It's what they voted for.
We are 10 seconds to air. Coming back on camera 2, and 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3.
We can now make it official. Tommy Douglas and the CCF have won a 4th successive majority government. It's getting to be like the Olympics. Every 4 years, it happens again.
Prime Minister John Diefenbaker continued his homecoming trip today with a stop in Prince Albert. The chief was met with wild enthusiasm everywhere he went. Next stop, Regina, where the Prime Minister is expected to clash heads in a private meeting with Premier Tommy Douglas. I think anyone would like ringside tickets to that prize fight.
Prime Minister Diefenbaker, are you and Premier Douglas planning to hold a press conference after your meeting today?
Premier Douglas and I haven't planned anything. I haven't spoken to the man yet.
Well, are you going to be discussing the balance of payments between the federal and provincial governments?
Gentlemen, I simply plan to have a little chat with a fellow Saskatchewanian. If anything important comes up, we'll be sure to let you know and keep these fellows out here. Would you folks mind giving us a moment in private, please?
Prime Minister, I thought we weren't meeting until this afternoon.
It's not official, Tom. It's just a little chat. Sit down. I want to talk to you about this hospitalization program you have going.
What about it?
I understand it's eating up a good chunk of your budget.
Well, no more than it merits. It's an excellent program.
It's an expensive program. And what's it cost? A quarter of your budget, your revenue?
Something like that. A little closer to a third, actually. But you have to understand, we pay for every hospital bed in this province.
Well, I've got at least 2 premiers who are very upset with you about this.
I don't see how it's any of their business.
Their constituents want to know why they're still paying hospital bills when it's free in Saskatchewan.
Well, that sounds like an excellent question to me.
Because you're the only leader in the country who doesn't have to answer it.
Now, I hope you are not suggesting that I scale back the program.
It has occurred to me. So I had a couple of my bright boys take a look at it.
And?
They tell me that you're doing the right thing. We should take this national.
These were conservatives who said this.
Indeed. So, that's exactly what I'm going to do. I will match every dollar every province spends on free hospitalization.
I just don't quite understand it.
Don't see why you have to understand.
Well, I would like to. I would like to, with all due respect.
Well, the fact is, my mother has been in the hospital here for quite some time. Will be for the rest of her life, I imagine.
I'm sorry, sir. I didn't realize.
Anyway, I could have moved her anywhere. The Mayo Clinic, anywhere she wanted. But she's a local girl, and the idea of going away was very upsetting for her. So, as it turns out, I've had the opportunity to see her program in quite some detail. I think it's a decent thing. It makes me proud of where I come from. I'm going to take it national, and that's that.
Thank you, John.
You're welcome.
Well, I have always felt that medical care is so important that it ought not have a price tag attached to it. Medicine, like education, should be available to all. That is why, for the past 15 years, we in the government have worked towards the day when we could announce that we would pay all the medical bills in this province.
This is my colleague, Dr. Marple. This is Dr. Filcher of the Canadian Medical Association, Dr. Mickelson of the American Medical Association.
Well, brought in the big guns, have we?
Now, we have all gone over your proposal, and we are unanimously agreed that it is not acceptable to the profession.
And why not?
It is unacceptable that doctors become de facto employees of the state.
Excuse me, gentlemen, but we're offering to pay you the rate you set yourselves, and we're offering to guarantee payment. And our deal's better than what you have now.
No, that's not the point. As doctors, we're firmly committed to the concept of free enterprise medicine.
Please, can we just leave the slogans aside? All I am trying to do is to ensure that everyone in this province has access to decent medical care.
I find the insinuation that we're not already providing that care to be highly disingenuous. No patient is turned away for lack of funds.
No, then you just stick a collection agent on them.
My father died because he wouldn't come begging to you fellas for charity, so don't you come telling me that the system we've got is adequate, because I find that highly, highly insulting.
I don't know how much more clearly I can state this. Mr. Douglas, your state medicine plan is not acceptable to the doctors of Saskatchewan,
nor to the doctors of Canada, nor to the doctors of the United States of America, and we will not practice under your plan.
Very well, let me tell you the position of the government of Saskatchewan. We are going to hold an election, and we are going to propose the very same legislation that you fellows find so objectionable. And when we win, we are going to make that law. And you fellas are going to obey that law. Thank you for your time. Eleanor, get the cabinet up here right away. We're calling an election.
We're calling an election today.
Don't tempt me, Eleanor.
Tommy.
These doctors think that they can dictate the agenda of this government, or they will find out differently.
Not if you lose the election.
Oh, I have no intention of losing.
Tommy.
What do you mean, you?
I'm not going to run again. I'm getting a divorce. I'm going to England with someone else. You remember Lucille? Mark Forson's wife?
Yes, I suppose so.
Well, they've split up, and Lucille and I are going away together.
Well, this is a shock.
I've done my bit, Tommy.
You picked a lousy time, Clarence.
Has ever been a good one.
I'll be sorry to see you go. As you know, we have promised that if re-elected, this government will introduce universal Medicare for every person in Saskatchewan. And our opponents are calling us a bunch of communists, and the doctors are saying it will mean the end of the world as we know it. Well, I say you've heard that kind of nonsense before, and you know how seriously to take it. I've been in office for some time now, and the sky hasn't fallen yet. It is with great pride that I announce the passage of the Saskatchewan Medical Care Insurance Act. What was once a dream is now the law in Saskatchewan. And I can honestly say, without hesitation, that this is my proudest moment as Premier.
Congratulations are in order to the 5-time Premier.
Ah, well, thank you. We've already passed the Medicare Act, you know.
Oh, good. Now you can come to Ottawa and lead this new party.
Look, I've said no a dozen times already.
Well, you're going to have to say yes. There's no one else who can make it work. Honestly, Tommy, it'll fall apart without you.
And drop it, MJ.
So, Irma, you've heard about the new party we've started.
Oh, yes. What have you decided to call it?
Just the new party. Oh, you don't approve?
I just don't understand what it is with you fellows when it comes to naming things. Can you put this on the table, please?
Oh, yeah.
Thank you. I mean, what are you going to call it in 10 years, MJ? The used party? The almost new party?
You know, I hadn't even thought about that, and it's not my problem anymore. But you know, I've been trying to convince Tommy to reconsider taking a leadership job.
And you can drop that subject right there. Thank you very much.
What's got your nerve?
I'm tired of being asked questions I have already answered.
The least you can do is be polite enough to think it over. It's not everyone who gets asked to run for Prime Minister.
I'll never see a CCF government in Ottawa in my lifetime.
Well, what does it matter as long as the right laws get passed?
The way to pass laws is to run the government. I have promised to serve my term, and I will do just that.
Well, I don't think...
Now, I am done talking about it.
MJ, would you like a piece of pie?
Certainly.
Your committee unanimously recommends that the name be New Party.
The CCF is no more. A new federal party is officially formed, and now all it needs is a leader. Speculation is that Tommy Douglas, Premier of Saskatchewan, is the consensus choice, but so far he's refused to consider the job.
The new party will have to be followed.
Is there any party in the world which is that stupid to call itself New Party? What does it mean?
You know, I expect you to back me up.
Oh, Tommy, I always back you up.
Oh, well, you didn't tonight. You're thinking I should take this new party job, and don't you deny it.
Well, why should I deny it?
Because I expect you not to undermine me in public.
Having supper with MJ is hardly being in public. I'm more than a little annoyed at all your accusations.
I'm not accusing you of anything. I'm simply stating the fact that I have decided not to move to this new party, and you are not respecting my decision.
No, nor will I respect any other decision that I feel is stubborn and wrong-headed. You like being Premier. You've gotten used to it. And you're too comfortable to go and do the hard work it's going to take to bring Medicare to the other provinces. Are you not coming inside? Tommy!
You make out a list. We'll get the atlas.
I thought you were going to England.
We are. Next month. Did you want to come in?
No, I just wanted to knock on the door and leave. Of course I want to come in.
Lucy, we've got company.
Oh, Mr. Premier.
Lucille, oh, how lovely to see you again. Clarence has never looked happier.
Well, thank you. Can I get you a drink?
You know, I think I will. Scotch and water.
All right.
Scotch and water.
So much. Do you have any rooms with doors on them?
Of course.
Well, she can wait in one of those, surely. I don't need you being so busy being Vera, you can't think.
Well, you're in a mood tonight.
There you are.
Thank you.
Lucy, we need to have a little chat.
Oh.
Premier and I.
All right. Well, I'll leave you two alone.
What do you want, Tommy?
I'm being hounded to lead this new party. They say it's going to go under. It's going to self-destruct without me.
It's not your problem.
What if I took it?
Why would you want to be a third-party figurehead? You know, you don't have any chance of winning anything but a few seats.
We're supposed to be replaceable, Clarence. You know, you were the best treasurer a province could ever hope for. I mean, I'd like to see your toilet because sometimes I think you new money. But now I've got Lloyd in treasury, and he's just as good as you ever were.
Well, he doesn't have the biggest debt in the country to deal with anymore now, does he?
No, that's right. But still, you see what I'm talking about. The CCF has always been about replacing the old guard, and now the old guard is me.
And what does Irma say?
She says we should take it.
So what are you doing here?
I don't want to go. That's just the fact. But I think about this legacy that we're leaving, and I can't help but wonder whether I'm making it impossible for anybody to take my place.
No, I think you're getting a little full of yourself now, Tom.
Well, that's why I came to you. No one's more full of themselves than you, Clarence.
Well, aren't you obnoxious tonight?
Well, it's funny you say that, because look at you. You've turned into an adolescent boy. It's pathetic.
I don't think you should take it.
How can you say that after you've quit? How come it's time for you to move on and not me?
It's because you've got a new mandate and you're supposed to serve it out.
No, I got a mandate for Medicare and I've passed it.
See, the system's not in place yet. You don't have the doctors signed on. I'd say now is just about the exact worst time to be running off to Ottawa.
I don't have many good choices here, Clarence. Either I walk out on the people who have elected me or I let the federal party go down in flames.
Well, I think one of those choices is considerably better than the other.
Well, I don't. And I think that you are not in any position to lecture me about sticking to one's obligations.
It's a bit tricky, that one. Tommy, I have every confidence you'll do the right thing.
Thank you.
I'm just not sure. I'm afraid it's going to be a disaster. They have no money and they have no organization.
Well, they can't have any less money than we had in Weyburn that first campaign, Tommy. Besides, that's not the point. The point is that you and I have always felt that the way that we do things here is the way that they should be done everywhere. And now you're being given an opportunity to help make that happen. And you insist on seeing it as a burden. Darling, it's not a burden. It's a gift.
Well, this is a momentous day. 17 years ago, this government made a commitment to take the most indebted province in this country and lead it out of debt. And I am unspeakably proud, enormously proud, to announce that we have done it.
Hey!
The finances of this government have never been in better shape than they are at this moment. So I cannot think of a better time to pass on the reins of leadership to fresh hands with fresh ideas. I hereby announce my retirement as leader of the government of Saskatchewan, effective in 2 months. I'm getting out while the getting's good. Because once you get a sense of what a great Premier Woodrow Lloyd's going to be, you'll all be saying I should have left years ago. Thank you. Tommy, thank you. Thank you, George. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
The founding convention of the New Democratic Party, a marriage between trade unions and the CCF, which will, it's believed, meet its first test of strength sometime in 1962. And its first leader, Premier Tommy Douglas of Saskatchewan.
Prime Minister Diefenbaker has dissolved the government, and in 5 weeks the country will go to the polls. Lester Pearson's Liberals say they will form a majority, but the wild cards this year come out of the West, with both Social Credits and the newly minted New Democratic Party running candidates from coast to coast. Ex-Premier Douglas left for Vancouver today with stops already scheduled in Toronto, Halifax, Montreal, Ottawa, and Winnipeg. Meanwhile, here in Regina, most folks are thinking about the Medicare plan that's slated to start July 1st, despite growing acrimony between the government and the doctors.
Oh, there you are, Irma. We've called it the New Democratic
that's not
Party.
good for me. I'm booked all week.
What do you think of that?
Honestly, MJ, as though the other parties weren't democratic.
No, but this one is new.
All right.
And that's a reason to vote for us.
Get back to me.
Where were we?
Okay, the pressing question. Where are you going to run?
We're going to run in Weyburn, of course. Where else would we run?
Irma, Weyburn is one of the only seats we've already got. Now, surely we can get Tommy Douglas elected without bumping a sitting member.
Well, I think you're putting the cart before the horse. MJ, you've got to get your leader into Parliament before you worry about anything else.
There are lots of good ridings, Irma, as long as I'm campaigning in Saskatchewan. Now, I'm wondering if maybe I shouldn't be in one of the cities. It's better for taking on the doctors, don't you think?
Absolutely.
No. No, no. Not if the party is only going to allow him 2 days a month in Saskatchewan.
It's a federal election, Irma. He's got to be seen across the country.
He's got to be seen in his own riding, especially if it's not Weyburn.
I'll find some time for my own campaign, Irma. Don't worry.
You must understand that more than 90% of doctors will leave Saskatchewan permanently if the government continues with this anti-democratic, totalitarian act of oppression. We still have rights in this country, if not in this province, and we will not practice medicine under these circumstances.
The law says there's to be no privacy at all. All the doctor's records will be turned over to the government.
The law doesn't say that.
Well, they haven't made it public, but that's what they're planning.
It's true. They're going to put cameras in all of the examining rooms and photograph us with our clothes off.
How do you know this?
My Ralph's in the shadow cabinet. He knows what's really going on.
We're going to have offices in every town. We're calling ourselves the KOD movement, Keep Our Doctors. I have lots of signs for everyone.
A doctor is a scientifically trained expert whose only goal is the health and welfare of his patient. Under state medicine, your doctor cannot choose how to treat you. Under state medicine, the patient loses control over his own body. Only with free enterprise medicine can you be sure to receive the best treatment possible.
Hello?
Do you hear that? Do you hear that, Mr. Douglas? That's my baby who's going to die because there'll be no doctors. No more because of you! Baby killer!
Where you going, Tommy?
In Regina, Tommy Douglas, leader of the NDP, is also in a crucial position. He has been opposed by Liberals, Conservatives, and also those citizens who are opposed to his provincial medical care program.
Do you know that I had a man call my house this morning and tell me that he was looking at Diane through a rifle sight? And that if I didn't rescind the act, he was going to shoot her. A 7-year-old girl. And I told him that he'd best make sure and get the right shot because she was playing with the doctor's kids at the time.
That must have been hard.
Why do we have to fight by the rules when they don't?
Because the rules are what we're fighting for.
Fighting for, I know. We're losing the people, Tommy.
That is not an option.
That is a fact.
Eleanor, I don't know why I bother speaking if they can't fill the hall.
People are upset, Tommy. They don't want to hear any more about it.
Now, I want you all to start thinking about what these doctors are saying. They are saying that their right to free enterprise is more important than your right to health. They are saying the votes of 1,000 doctors outweigh the votes of 1,000,000 citizens. They are saying democracy does not count unless they agree with the outcome.
It now appears all but certain that the Liberal Party will form the next federal government. That's it from the National Election Desk in Toronto. We now return you to regional coverage.
We're back. We have results coming in from Regina South next. This is surely the most closely watched riding in the province, and I can now report Tommy Douglas, the 5-time Premier of Saskatchewan, has gone down to defeat tonight for the first time in 27 years. We can announce that Conservative Ken Moore has run away to victory. A year ago, this result would have been considered unthinkable. But the doctor's strike is slated to begin in 2 weeks, and there's a lot of anger in Saskatchewan right now.
And here with me now at the main desk, I have one of the victorious New Democratic Party candidates who's taken the seat in York South, a former CCF seat. He's National Vice President of the New Democratic Party, David Lewis. Mr. Lewis, how do you feel tonight?
Well, my pleasure at being myself elected is marred considerably by the fact that Canada and Parliament have lost one of the greatest parliamentarians. I refer to our leader, Tommy Douglas.
What do you think the party has been doing generally?
I think it's been doing very well. The one disappointment is Saskatchewan, where the doctors' crusade against the health plan appears to have frightened the Saskatchewan people some.
I would like to congratulate my opponent on a victory won fair and square. The voters of Regina have spoken, and I have heard them. But an election is simply one battle in the great war against injustice and inequality and exploitation. So to all of our candidates across the country, those who, like myself, were not successful, may I remind you of an old verse of a Scottish ballad that says, "Fight on, my men," said Sir Andrew Barton. "I am hurt, but I am not slain. I'll lie me down and bleed a while, but then I'll rise and fight again."
5, 4,
Dr. Moulds, do you feel responsible for defeating Tommy Douglas tonight?
Oh, absolutely not. Tommy Douglas lost because he didn't listen to the people of Saskatchewan.
I'm going to put the house on the market tomorrow morning. We'll move back to Ottawa.
We don't have any idea of where I'm going to run, Irma. I've got to get myself elected somewhere.
Well, it can be somewhere else. If this province can't put you into office, then after everything you've done for them, then they can, well, get along without us.
At this time, almost every doctor's office we know of in Saskatchewan is closed. Only a few hospitals are providing emergency service for the whole province. People who do not live in a big city and find themselves faced with a medical crisis are, frankly, in deep trouble.
Good evening, I'm Knowlton Nash, and this is another special report on the Saskatchewan Medicare fight. A fight that has torn Saskatchewan apart in almost unbelievable bitterness and anger.
This is the first plane load of doctors to arrive from England, but I understand there are 3 more planes on the way. Although I can't confirm this at this time, there are almost a dozen doctors coming in by bus from Ontario, and possibly more from the United States. This is Joanna Brown reporting from the Regina Airport.
See, what this government, it just doesn't seem to understand is that these replacement doctors are not going to be allowed into any hospital. You need approval from the staff to get hospital privileges in this province. And I can guarantee you the doctors who are on strike, they're not about to grant privileges to strike breakers.
So where are they supposed to practice medicine?
Back where they came from. We're not living in Russia yet.
Nothing more to say that I haven't already said, folks. Gentlemen, please.
While the hospitals are refusing to let the foreign doctors in, makeshift community clinics are sprouting up in almost every town of any size and are starting to provide at least basic medical coverage to the population. We'll find out how public opinion is swinging this Sunday when the Keep Our Doctors protest rally is expecting 50,000 people to gather at the legislature.
Things are turning our way, Tommy. The foreign doctors are making all the difference.
And the caucus?
Caucus is solid.
Good.
We are getting good hospital-based service. There are 3 hospitals operating. There is no particular emergency insofar as medical care is concerned.
The Keep Our Doctors movement expected 50,000 marchers today, but there can't be more than a few thousand people here. This is a major setback for the doctors.
The strike drags on, and today the doctors suffered another blow. The Court of Queen's Bench in Regina has rejected their petition for an injunction to suspend the Medicare Act. That means the doctors' last legal avenue has been shut. And with the dozens and dozens of foreign doctors now working in the province, you have to wonder how much longer the doctors can keep this strike going.
Tommy, we've won. The doctors have caved in.
Oh my goodness.
Are you all right?
Oh yeah.
Come on. Let me take this. Let's go inside. Dr. Mould is here.
Well, We'll have to save face, of course. So there will be conditions.
Of course.
I'm very happy, mostly because I think that every person in Saskatchewan tonight will be very happy to know that they have a comprehensive medical care plan and that they will no longer be worried about whether or not their medical bills will be paid.
Oh, look, there he is.
Did it, Woodrow?
Thanks. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks a lot, Irma.
Come and join the ranks through all the land to fight for those who toil. Come on, farmer, soldier, laborer, from the mine and factory, and side by side we'll swell the tide. CCF to victory! All goes out to Canada. It comes from out the soil. Come and join the ranks through all the land to fight for those who toil. Come on, farmer, soldier, laborer, from the mine and factory, and side by side we'll swell the tide. CCF to victory!
Got to get going.
I know.
We're late already.
We'll leave right away.
Ladies and gentlemen, the father of Medicare. The leader of the first socialist government in North America. The first leader of the new Democratic Party. And the greatest humanitarian this country has ever produced, the Honorable Tommy Douglas.
Well, if I had any sense, I'd leave that good evening and you might go home believing some of that malarkey that you just said about it. But unfortunately, I've come with a speech. Now, 50 years ago tonight, the Cooperative Commonwealth Federation was founded. Right here in Regina.
I think back to that first convention and the dreams that we had. The programs we envisioned were so radical. Why, we laughed at them ourselves. Why we actually had the gall to imagine a society, a country, with free education, free medical care, old age pensions, unemployment insurance, a Bill of Rights, a real Constitution. Well, now you name it. It was sheer madness to think we'd achieve any of it. But 50 years later, here we are.
No need for that. We got the biopsy results.
Well, I thought that was going to take another week.
It didn't. The good news is, it's fairly slow. The bad news is there aren't a lot of treatment options. I'm sorry.
That's fine. Thank you.
And the only thing I can complain about is the liberals stole all the credit. But really, is the credit 1/10 so important as the achievement? I don't think so. Now, some people want to think we've won the fight against greed, that we have created a just and equitable society. I think to some degree we have. And I can't tell you how proud I am of it, of us, of this country that we have built together. But if you think that greed is defeated, that it is even abated, well, then I think you are more than a little naive. And I would like to take this chance to warn about some of the battles I think will inevitably be fought that I will sadly not be here to take part in. Medicare is only 20 years old. And already I hear the rumblings. Oh, well, it's too expensive, they say. Yes, well, the fact is medicine is expensive no matter how you pay for it. And it won't be any cheaper if we go back to tacking profits onto the bill. Now, that is simple math. The fact is, I've lost my place now. Irma wrote this out for me, and her handwriting is atrocious. The fact is, here we are, the fact is a government-administered plan is far more efficient than any private plan on the planet. In a free enterprise system, there has always got to be a profit, just as I've always said. In fact, that profit has to grow always every year, or the stockholders will rebel, and heaven forbid we save a few lives at the expense of the stockholders. Medicine is a universal need, and it must be universally provided. A society, that's right, a society that can't see that isn't much of a society at all. You calm down now. Now, no matter what they tell you when I'm gone, I ask you to remember the founding principle of this party. The principle I have fought for in Parliament and out of Parliament my entire life. Now, it's very simple, actually. It is the principle that we are all in this world together. And the only test of our character that matters is how we look after the least fortunate among us. Not how we look after each other, not how we look after ourselves. And that's all that really matters, I think.
So, Daddy, there's nothing to be done?
Well, nothing that works, Shirley. It's very slow growing. I'm sure something else will kill me before the cancer does.
Ever the optimist.
According to Irma, I'm done now. I'd like to thank you so much for your time.
People have been asking about you, Tommy. They want to see you.
Well, I don't want to see them. Not like this.